It's time for America Outdoors Radio. Better still, we've got a special Pacific Northwest edition for you, and you'll only hear it here on KRKO AM 1380.
Welcome to your local shot of the outdoors, sponsored by Sportsman's Warehouse on Everett Mall Parkway in Everett. If you are an angler, you're probably pretty disappointed by two WDFW meetings that happened last Friday. The first meeting was a telephone conference where WDFW staff briefed the commission on a 10-year Puget Sound salmon management plan that may well end fishing in a good portion of northern Puget Sound, all to save a dozen salmon. You heard me right, about a dozen salmon in the Stillaguamish River. What's frustrating is these talks were essentially held in secret, and it favors wholesale fishing restrictions over the real issue, habitat, along with a potential solution, increased habitat, and hatchery production with no fin marking. But wait, there's more. There was also a WDFW meeting at the regional office in Mill Creek last Friday, too. The subject, the promised 60 to 90-day steelhead fishery on the Skagit River this winter and spring, approved by NOAA. The reality, an announcement that it's only going to be a 14-day fishery during that time period. The stated reason, a lack of funding at the state level to monitor this fishery. Never mind the fact that Director Unsworth reportedly indicated the funding would be found for this fishery during an earlier meeting. Never mind the fact that the state of Oregon has found a way around this using volunteers to monitor fishing efforts and catches. And never mind the fact that while there's no money for this, there's apparently $200,000 to pay a consultant to facilitate meetings about wolves for the Department of Fish and Wildlife. So, what are the impacts? I could tell you more, but I'd rather share what Fish and Wildlife Commissioner Larry Carpenter had to say at the end of that telephone conference instead, because it really lays out the havoc that WDFW and the way they're managing fisheries lately is playing out.
The commission got an email this afternoon from George Harris. George Harris is the president of the Northwest Marine Trade Association. Just to give you an example of the email, there's a lot of carnage going out there already in industry because the customer base is so upset and so nervous that they're no longer purchasing equipment and boats and fishing tackle at the same level that they were. Renaissance Marine, which is located in Clarkston, which is a manufacturer that I was a dealer for many, many years, their sales and activity are off by 30%. They're laying off 30% of their people, and they're considering relocating their company to the Great Lakes. And if you don't think that boat builder leaving the Clarkston community would cause great heartburn in that area, let me just tell you, for those of you that have never been in business for yourself and never had to worry about making payroll or finding money for the mortgage payments on your building or all the costs that go along with being in business yourself, you don't get it. I'll just tell you, you don't get it. I sold my companies back in the end of March of 2017. And the people that bought my company are now, because of the cancellations of boat orders and the reductions in activity, anticipate they're going to have a $20 million sales decrease going into 2018. And they're in effect working on laying off a significant number of people. So I can't emphasize enough that this is about real people and real jobs and people with kids. And we got to find a way to compromise, find a happy medium, and let these people survive into the future and be happy, lucky, tax-paying citizens of the state.
We're going to stay away from politics for the rest of the show, if for no other reason than to get my blood pressure down again. However, there is more local outdoors coming your way. At the bottom of the hour, Joe Brennan with O'Loughlin Shows is going to tell you about the Washington State Sportsman Show kicking off this Wednesday and running through Sunday in Puyallup, where we hope you'll drop by our booth for a chance to win $100 in tackle from Max Lure Company. And you'll want to stick around for the end of the show because we'll be checking in again with Tom Burlingame with XL Fishing Charters, who has info about lingcod fishing out of Neah Bay. And Tom will be at that Puyallup show too, and that's a great place to book a trip with him.
And with that, let's head to this week's national edition of America Outdoors Radio.
Tillamook Bay is considered the greatest fishing experience on the west coast for fall Chinook salmon and winter steelhead, and Dungeness crab is plentiful. 5 major rivers connect with the ocean on the Tillamook coast. It's not unusual to snag a 40 to 50 pounder. Go out in a boat or stand on a riverbank or dock. Try fishing from a dory boat and experience the thrill of a beach launch and landing. Use spinners, sand shrimp, or salmon eggs to lure them. The fish will line up to grab your bait. Go to tillamookcoast.com/fishing to find guides and places to stay.
Whether you're after trout, steelhead, or salmon, it's time for the annual Linwood Fly Fishing Show, February 17th and 18th in the Linwood Convention Center. Fly fishing isn't part of the show, it is the show. And parking is free. See Gary Borger, Brian O'Keefe, Skip Morris, and dozens of others cast and tie flies. See all the 2018 rods, reels, and tackle in one place, plus fly fishing demonstrations from around the world. If you like fly fishing, you'll love the Fly Fishing Show.
It doesn't matter what sort of adventure you're after. Whether it's big game deep in the backcountry, a day of fishing out on the water, or an overnight in the great outdoors. At Sportsman's Warehouse, we've got the gear in here for what you need out there. Gear up for your next adventure at one of the Sportsman's Warehouse stores or shop online. Sportsman's Warehouse, America's premier outfitter.
Marine Area 5 near CQ is open for a special Chinook salmon fishery, and Excel Fishing Charters is ready to take you out for a great day on the water. One of the great things about this fishery is the fact that you get to take home not 1, but 2 blackmouth a day, and Captain Tom Burlingame has the knowledge and experience to help you get that done. Need a place to stay? Excel Fishing Charters can help you with that too, because they also operate the inn at Neah Bay. Find out more about fishing with Excel Fishing Charters at excelfishingcharters.com. That's EXCEL fishingcharters.com. Book your trip now.
Let's get back to the local outdoors scene. It's the Pacific Northwest edition of America Outdoors Radio. Heard exclusively here on Fox Sports 1380 KRKO.
We're going very local for your local shot of the outdoors. We're taking you to the Washington Sportsman Show, taking place in Puyallup, January 24th through the 28th. With us here to tell you more about it is Joe Brennan with O'Loughlin Trade Shows. Joe, tell our listeners very briefly what they're going to find at the fairgrounds in Puyallup.
Well, this is the 31st annual Washington Sportsman Show. I'm bringing you the great outdoors indoors. There's guides and outfitters, manufacturers, boats, RVs, accessory companies, seminars on how to hunt and fish and camp cook, and horse and mule packing. There's the heads and horns demonstration. Brett Stoffel, our outdoor survivalist, will be doing seminars for kids as well as the adults on outdoor survival. So in a nutshell, John, the last thing I want to mention is our first ever live kokanee display, which will have numerous seminars given on that daily as well.
So, folks, a brand new kokanee tank and kokanee fishing seminars will be taking place throughout the week, in addition to all the other fishing, hunting, and other seminars you've come to expect. And don't forget the outdoors cooking seminars. They've got a bunch of new camp chefs for you and some great recipes and things they're going to teach you so you can up your game outdoors. So much to see, so much to do. Make sure you line out an entire day to visit this Sportsman Show at the Fairgrounds in Puyallup. Again, January 24th through the 28th. You can find out more and get discount coupons by going to thesportshows.com. That's thesportshows.com. One more thing to mention is the admission price. It's $15 per adult, but there's a special show price for after 4 p.m. It's only $8, and parking is free the entire week at the Washington Sportsman Show in Puyallup. Joe, thanks for sharing this with us on America Outdoors Radio.
You're sure welcome, John.
There's a whole bunch more of the great outdoors coming your way on Fox Sports 1380.
NorthwestFishingReports.com is the Northwest's largest fishing reports website, featuring well over 50,000 fishing reports, videos, articles, and more. All 100% free. Catch more fish with Northwest Fishing Reports. Log on today.
It's time for the annual Linwood Fly Fishing Show, February 17th and 18th at the convenient Linwood Convention Center. See everything new for 2018, plus fly fishing destinations from around the world.
Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, a nationwide group working to keep public lands in public hands so future generations can enjoy what we enjoy. Join the group that makes a difference. Check us out at backcountryhunters.org.
It's time for another local shot of the outdoors. It's the Pacific Northwest edition of America Outdoors Radio, and you'll only hear it here on Fox Sports 1380 KRKO.
Guess who's back? That's right. It's Tom Burlingame with XL Fishing Charters, and this week, Tom, let's talk about Rockfish and Lingcod. It's great to have you back on the show.
Well, thank you, John. It's great to be here.
So when it comes to the bottom fish, are you fishing out of Neah Bay or CQ?
We fish out of Neah Bay for bottom fish exclusively. We don't do any CQ bottom fish trips.
And I understand that this season that starts April 16th, you're fishing pretty close to town there, aren't you?
That's right. Some days we fish right in the straits. Most of the days we fish in the ocean when weather permits. And, yeah, it's a very short run time.
So what's the limit on these fish out there?
In the ocean, it's 7 rockfish and 2 lingcod for a total of 9 fish.
And I understand the lingcod size limit has changed. What is the size limit now for lingcod?
Well, if you're fishing in the strait in Area 4B, it is 22 inches. If you're in the ocean, there is no size limit. You can keep any fish.
Rhetorical question here. Would you keep a fish that's smaller than 22 inches that's a ling or not?
Well, 22 inches in my book is a pretty small fish. And like if we're fishing the ocean and we're catching those fish, we're normally releasing those fish. They're really resilient fish, and hooking mortality is very low, so it's okay to sort through them to get the ones you want.
I am glad to hear you say that, Tom. So, folks, if you want a fishing trip for quality bottom fish, we're talking good size ling and lots of rockfish, the guy to call is Tom Burlingame. His website where you can reach him, xlfishingcharters.com. That's EXCEL fishingcharters.com. And if you need a place to stay, well, Tom just happens to have an inn that he operates with his wife as well, so you'll have a great place to stay, and then you can go fishing the next morning with him. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you, John.
That's all for this week's Pacific Northwest edition of America Outdoors Radio, but we'll do it all again next Saturday morning from 8 to 9 right here on Fox Sports KRKO. Two huge events for hunters and anglers are coming to the Northwest. The first is the Washington Sportsman Show, January 24th to the 28th at the Fairgrounds in Puyallup. As big as this show is, the Pacific Northwest Sportsman Show at Portland's Expo Center is even bigger, with even more outfitters, retailers, boat dealers, and free seminars galore. You won't want to miss these shows, January 24th to the 28th in Puyallup and February 7th to the 11th in Portland.